Hi, and a very warm welcome to all of you to UPSCpedia by anujindal.in. So, I hope you all have been following our prelims analysis for 2021. We have covered several subjects by Suraj sir, and today I'm going to take up Indian economy, that questions from Indian economy that were asked in UPSC prelims 2021. So basically, we will be discussing not only the basic concepts on which the questions were based. This is I will also share with you some of the elimination techniques that you could have used. So there were some questions that there was no scope for any elimination or intelligence guessing. Yes, facts-based questions were asked, but ओवरऑल 2021 में इंडियन इकोनॉमी का जो पेपर आया था दैट वाज कंपैरेटिवली इजी एज कंपेयर टू प्रीवियस सम इयर्स, राइट? एंड even in 2021 the number of questions that were asked from Indian economy, not 10 but actually 12 questions were asked from Indian economy in 2021. The level of difficulty, most of the questions that I found were very easy and could have been solved from NCERT. Rest of the questions, if you have been following monthly magazines for current affairs and even a standard book on Indian economy like Ramesh Singh, that would have been helpful to answer one or two questions. I will also share with you what type of questions you should leave and because that is also a skill. Prelims is not just a knowledge based test, but it also a skill based test. It will test your skill on elimination and intelligence guessing. It will test your skills on conceptual clarity and presence of mind, how you are able to apply that knowledge in some questions. And also it will test your skill on the art of leaving, what type of questions you should attempt and what type of questions you should leave, actually, because you're not supposed to attempt all the 100 questions that are asked. You have to maximize your score, you have to cross the cutoff. So that is the thing that we are going to discuss in this session. The session will be very brief, to the point, no unnecessary explanation will be there. You have to keep a balance, again, like in the actual prelim exam, you also have to keep a balance between knowledge and skill. You have to sharpen your skills for the actual exam by regular solving of mocks, practice, thorough analysis of mock tests. All those things are prerequisite. So as per this table, you can see 2017-18 में अच्छे खासे number of questions were asked from Indian economy, but 2021 में comparatively Indian economy का weightage कम था. And also the level of difficulty was also easy. 2020 का paper, I will not call it easy. Economy was not easy in 2020 as it was in 2021. Okay, so of course one by one we will take up papers from all of these sections for the Indian economy. Okay, money multiplier. Let's begin with the very first question related to money multiplier. अब money multiplier या monetary theory is not a new topic to UPSC. Questions have been repeatedly asked from money multiplier concept ever since like 2010 से ही questions आ रहे money multiplier के. And of course you all know that questions never get repeated. The concept gets repeated in various other forms. So in 2020 also there was a question based on the concept of money multiplier. You all know M1, M2, M3 money. 2021 में same topic आ गया but with a different concept. Getting any cue from this? You should not just read, you should read, revise, you should literally digest class 11th and 12th NCERT, especially class 12th macroeconomics NCERT में जितने भी basic concepts, definitions दी हैं. I sincerely, strongly insist you to be very thorough with the concepts given in class 12th macro NCERT. And of course some additional research based on the concepts in NCERT will do wonders. Of course आप standard books तो पढ़ोगे ही. You have Indian economy, Ramesh Singh, any other standard book, the concepts are going to be same everywhere, but the conceptual clarity and the help in prelims that will be given to you by NCERT is unmatched, and that is why I strongly emphasize 12th की macro and of course micro economics की NCERT भी आपको उतनी ही sincerely पढ़नी ही पड़ेगी. Okay, you don't have any other option. You do this for all the other subjects, and why not economy? And I am here, our team is here to clarify all the basic doubts and concepts जो आपको economy जैसे subject में पढ़ने में आते हैं, especially those who do not have any background in economics. So let's begin with the very first question of money multiplier, which is an economy increases with which one of the following? You have options: increase in CRR, SLR, banking habit and population. तो CRR, SLR बहुत ये इसका level of difficulty easy ही है. Easy क्या? Very very easy question. You all know CRR और SLR अगर increase होता है तो मनी सप्लाई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट होता है. द सेंट्रल बैंक इंक्रीजेस CRR एंड SLR टू कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मनी सप्लाई टू फाइट ऑफ द इन्फ्लेशनरी प्रेशर्स दैट द इकोनॉमी इज फेसिंग. So when the money supply is contracting in the economy, then how will money suppliers work? How is money supply supposed to work when there is a contraction of money supply in the economy? So obviously A and B are not the correct answer. And अगर आपको open market operation का ज़रा सा भी knowledge है, you know what SCRR and SLR basically do, you will be able to decipher that okay, these both options are wrong. Increase in banking habit of the people and increase in population of the country. Let's have a look at the last option first. Increase in population of the country. How does it impact money multiplier effect? If the population is well off, if the population has high purchasing power capacity, the consumption and investment expenditure are high, then surely there will be money multiplier effect. But the opposite can also be the case. The population is too much, but there is not much purchasing power capacity with the people. People are not investing, people are not expending in the basic consumption expenditure. तो उसकी वजह से मनी मल्टीप्लायर नहीं होगा इकोनॉमी. ये बहुत ही बेसिक सा कॉन्सेप्ट है. सो ऑब्वियसली आंसर डी इज ऑल्सो नॉट द करेक्ट आंसर. इनडायरेक्टली लिंक्ड है और कॉन्सेप्ट भी क्लियर नहीं है. तो ऑब्वियसली सी इज द करेक्ट आंसर. लेट्स सी हाउ. CRR, SLR we have already discussed these points. Let's first have a basic definition of money multiplier. वन मोर थिंग, आपको ये बेसिक डेफिनेशन जाने बिना ही ये क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लेना था. ये इतना बेसिक ये था कि यू शुड नो अबाउट द कॉन्सेप्ट. मनी मल्टीप्लायर का इफेक्ट बेसिकली होता क्या है? लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट. द डिग्री बाय विच मनी सप्लाई इज एक्सपैंडेड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ इंक्रीज इन हाई पावर्ड मनी. हाई पावर मनी क्या होता है? जितनी भी करेंसी, पेपर मनी एंड कॉइन्स होती है विद द पब्लिक, विद द गवर्नमेंट एंड बैंक डिपॉजिट्स विद द RBI, that is high powered money, and that is how basically money multiplier works. जितना भी मनी फ्लोट कर रहा है इकोनॉमी में, that has an expansionary effect. How? Let us see. You do not need to mug up the definition. कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. सिर्फ आपको ये समझना है कि ये जो डेफिनेशन है एक्चुअली में एप्लीकेबल कैसे होती है इकोनॉमी में. Suppose how money multiplier works. There is an increase in banking habit of the people. When people deposit their money in the bank accounts, what happens? There are more deposits with the bank. More deposits with the bank, banks will naturally increase their lending activities to consumers and investors. When lending activities are increased, consumption expenditure and investment expenditure both will increase. There will be a rise in interest rate. There will be rise in economic activities, employment and income with the people. There will be a further boost to consumption and investment spending. तो that is how money multiplier works. Of course बैंक में डिपॉजिट जाएगा तो लोगों को उस डिपॉजिट पे भी इंटरेस्ट रेट मिलेगा. So money will also multiply in the banks also. There will be the customers will be earning interest on their deposits. Banks will be involved in more of their lending activities. Consumption बढ़ेगा, investment बढ़ेगा. तो उससे क्या होगा? Economic activity बढ़ेगी. With more economic activity and employment, more income will be generated, and that will further boost the consumption, and it works like a cycle. It actually works like a cycle. So this is how money multiplier is practically applicable in an economy, and C is the natural obvious choice. And the question was very very easy if you understand this cycle. If you understand the cycle, how money multiplier basically works. So मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट और भी जगह सिर्फ मनी मल्टीप्लायर ही नहीं होता है. जस्ट टेलिंग यू, इन फ्यूचर if UPSC is asking you about money multiplier in 2021, maybe directly or indirectly, it can also can be asked in terms of tax multiplier, budget multiplier and credit multiplier. Credit multiplier basically works the same way. When people will deposit their money in the bank accounts, the bank will pay them interest, and when the bank will pay them interest, the value of the deposit or the value of money will increase, and that will have a multiplier effect on the economy. Similarly, budget multiplier will also have an expansionary effect. अगर government अपना spending increase करता है, there is more investment and employment in the economy, and budget multiplier will also increase. But if budget multiplier has a contractionary effect, अगर contractionary fiscal policy government आप follow कर रही है, तो the multiplier effect will work in an opposite nature. I hope you understand that. For example, अगर टैक्स इंक्रीज कर दिया गवर्नमेंट ने, अगर टैक्स इंक्रीज कर दिया तो डिस्पोजेबल इनकम लोगों का कम हो जाएगा. You are paying more tax than you were paying before. Now disposable income in your pocket is less, so you will be spending less amount. So that is what it is. It will have a negative effect if there is an increase in tax rate. So I hope you understand the basic concept. You understand the basic concept. You will not be, अगर tax आपका बढ़ जाता है, you will not be spending as much as you were spending before, and because you will not be spending as much as before, then obviously the economic activity will fall. There will be recession in the economy. Investment नहीं होगा. अगर consumption expenditure नहीं होगा तो investors भी invest नहीं करेंगे. So this is how basically this is the basic concept around the multiplier effect, and अलग अलग तरीके के multipliers होते हैं that we have discussed it in depth. I hope the concept was very very clear to you all. ये money multiplier का question है जो 2020 में आया था. If you withdraw, it is related to M3 money. M3 money, you all know, it is currency in circulation, time deposits in bank. Therefore, there will be no change in M. इसका correct answer क्या आता है? It will be unchanged. Okay, if you withdraw 1 lakh from your demand deposit account, it will have an immediate effect on aggregate money supply. सो करेक्ट आंसर इसका डी है. इसका और थरो एनालिसिस अगर आपको चाहिए, वी हैव ऑलरेडी मेड अ वीडियो ऑन 2020 पेपर एनालिसिस फ्रॉम इकोनॉमी. You can watch it on our channel playlist. I will share the link of that video in the description below. But this is just for reference. The question from this concept keep repeating itself. So make sure that you thoroughly cover this topic from class 12th NCERT. I will also share important topics and important sources that you need to read and be thorough with for Indian economy, both for prelims as well as from the mains point of view. Moving on to the next question. With reference to Indian economy, demand pull inflation can be caused or increased by which of the following? तो ये भी NCERT से ही सॉल्व हो जाएगा. इफ़ यू नो व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, दैट इज डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन एंड कॉस्ट पुश इन्फ्लेशन. डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन कैसे बनता है? व्हेन देयर इज एन एक्सेस ऑफ डिमांड एंड द सप्लाई कैन नॉट बी इंक्रीज्ड बाय द प्रोड्यूसर्स इन द शॉर्ट रन. बेसिक किनीशियन कॉन्सेप्ट है ये डिमांड पुल एंड कॉस्ट पुश इन्फ्लेशन का, बट आई विल नॉट डिस्कस द टेक्निकल डिटेल्स. ये प्रीलिम्स का पेपर है. एंड डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन मीन्स देर इज एन एक्सेस डिमांड ओवर अ गिवन सप्लाई इन द शॉर्ट रन ओनली. लॉन्ग रन में तो सप्लाई कोई भी इंडस्ट्री इंक्रीज कर सकती है एज पर द डिमांड. शॉर्ट रन में अगर डिमांड अचानक से बूस्ट हो जाती है एंड देयर सप्लाई इज लिमिटेड, देन व्हाट विल हैपन? अगर डिमांड किसी प्रोडक्ट की बूस्ट होती है और सप्लाई उसका कम होता है, देन द प्राइजेस विल गो अप. व्हेन द प्राइजेस विल गो अप, देयर विल बी इन्फ्लेशन एंड हेंस इट इज डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन. आई होप द कॉन्सेप्ट इज वेरी वेरी क्लियर टू यू. अब इसका आंसर भी बहुत ही बेसिक है, बहुत बेसिक इसका आंसर है. कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी ही चाहिए, नथिंग एल्स. Why will there be a demand pull inflation in the economy? Because there will be an excess demand. डिमांड कब एक्सीड होगी? व्हेन देयर विल बी मोर स्पेंडिंग कैपेसिटी एट द हैंड्स ऑफ पीपल, दैट इज हाई परचेजिंग पावर. परचेजिंग पावर लोगों की बढ़ जाती है, डिस्पोजेबल इनकम बढ़ती है, तो देयर इज मोर कंजम्पशन डिमांड, पीपल विल डिमांड मोर, एंड दैट इज वाई 4 विल बी एन ऑब्वियस आंसर. एक ऑप्शन ऐसे ही एलिमिनेट हो गया. नाउ लेट्स लुक एट अदर ऑप्शंस. High purchasing power is the primary reason for demand pull inflation. Let's have a look at other options. Expansionary fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, expansionary policies क्या होती है? When there is a tax cut, when there is an increase in government spending, what will happen? It will boost investment, it will generate more employment, more people will be getting better incomes. ज़्यादा इनकम के साथ ऑफ कोर्स डिमांड बढ़ेगी, तो ऑब्वियसली 1 इज ऑल्सो एन ऑब्वियस चॉइस. तो ये एक ऑप्शन और आपका एलिमिनेट हो गया. यू हैव ऑप्शन ए एंड डी लेफ्ट. ओके, सो 1 and 4 आर श्योर शॉर्ट आंसर्स टू दिस क्वेश्चन. Fiscal stimulus and expansionary fiscal policies, one and the same thing, right? So बहुत ही ऑब्वियस है. आई डोंट नो व्हाई दिस वाज गिवन एज 2 ऑप्शंस. फिजिकल स्टिमुलस, अगर फिजिकल पॉलिसी एक्सपेंशनरी होती है या मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी भी अगर एक्सपेंशनरी होती है, तो देयर विल बी मोर इनकम एंड डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन विल बी देयर. फिजिकल स्टिमुलस इज ऑल्सो एन ऑब्वियस आंसर. Inflation indexing of wage rates and rising interest rate. What is interest rate? Interest rate is basically the cost of borrowing money from the financial market. अगर cost of borrowing money, अगर पैसा borrow करना महंगा हो जाता है किसी भी consumer के लिए, तो what will happen? The demand for money will go down. When the demand for money will go down, less money will be circulated in the economy. So because rising interest rate will have a contractionary effect on the economy, the economic activity will automatically slow down. So demand pull inflation का इसमें कोई scope नहीं बनता है. And of course rising interest rate को आप ऐसे भी समझ सकते हो that when it will be more expensive to borrow money from banks, investors will investors को कोई incentive नहीं मिलेगा to invest in the economy, to take a loan from the bank because the interest rate is high. Investors will not invest in any economic activity or entrepreneurship. तो 5th eliminate हो जाता है. This is not the correct answer. So of course you have eliminated another option. The right answer here is A. A is the right answer. Let's discuss option number 3 now. Let's discuss option 3, inflation indexing of wage rate. Now what is inflation indexing? When the wage rate is set at par with the rising inflationary trends. Now for example, there is a daily wage rate of a particular amount of work of rupees 100 per day. Because of inflation, wage rate is the same, but 100 rupees में जो basic consumer CPI में जो basket goods है वो नहीं fulfill हो पा रहा है. The daily consumption expenditure is not getting fulfilled because of this minimal wage rate, because there is a rise in prices of other commodities, right? So पहले जो 100 रुपये में चीज़ें खरीद पा रहा था, अब उसको 150 रुपीज़ लग रहा है खरीदने में. Now what will happen? The wage rate being inflation indexed, if the wage rate increases to rupees 50 and there is an increase in general price level in the economy by rupees 50, you are getting it. The consumption expenditure is going to remain the same. Hence, there is no scope for demand pull inflation when it comes to inflation indexing of wages. So 3 is eliminated. I hope you got the point. Inflation से there is a loss in monetary value of wages. 100 rupees का 1950 में बहुत ज़्यादा वैल्यू होता था. आज की डेट में it is next to nothing. Right? So that is the concept. There is a loss in monetary value of the currency, and that is why inflation indexing wage rate has nothing to do with increase in consumption expenditure, and that is why inflation indexing wage rate will not create a demand pull inflation effect. Other points we have discussed. main cue here is the capacity to buy more from the market, increase in purchasing power, increase in disposable income and the capacity to buy more from the market. That is उसी के basis पे हमने ये सारे options जो हैं eliminate कर दिए. Rising interest rate उसके opposite जा रहा था, we eliminated it, and now inflation indexing wage rate, it was all about conceptual clarity. So I hope you are getting it, how conceptual clarity and elimination techniques, they both work together to maximize your score in prelims. So we have already discussed these points. I hope it was very, very clear to you. High purchasing power was the first and an obvious choice. Rising interest rate will work in the opposite direction. So A124 only is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question, we have, with reference to India, consider the following statements. FDI in India, with reference to FDI in India, I guess. No. It's only with reference to India. Retail investors through DMAT account can invest in treasury bills and Government of India debt bonds. Negotiated dealing systems order matching is a government securities trading platform of the Reserve Bank of India. And CDSL is jointly promoted by Reserve Bank of India and Bombay Stock Exchange. Now, is there any scope for elimination in this question? Very, very little scope for elimination. कहीं common basic concepts use हो रहे हैं. Let's look at the option 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 3 only and 2 and 3 only. So if we go with 1 only, is 1 only correct? डीमैट अकाउंट, कोई भी इन्वेस्टर फाइनेंशियल मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहता है तो डीमैट अकाउंट बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट होता है. इट इज़ अ डीमटेरियलाइज्ड फॉर्म दैट होल्ड फाइनेंशियल सिक्योरिटीज फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ ट्रेडिंग इन द फाइनेंशियल मार्केट. सो डीमैट अकाउंट इज द बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट वेदर यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन प्राइवेट सिक्योरिटीज और गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज. गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज को गिल्ट एज बॉन्ड भी बोला जाता है. डीमैट अकाउंट के थ्रू गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज में कोई भी रिटेल इन्वेस्टर इन्वेस्ट कर सकता है, वेदर दीज आर ट्रेजरी बिल्स और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया डेट बॉन्ड्स इन द प्राइमरी मार्केट. रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स, ऑप्शन 1 इज करेक्ट. नाउ वाज देयर एनी एलिमिनेशन और लॉजिक यूज्ड? नो. बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट था, आपको पता होना चाहिए पहले से ही दैट रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स आर अलाउड टू इन्वेस्ट इन ट्रेजरी बिल्स एंड गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बॉन्ड्स. ओके, we are not focusing on the knowledge part here, we are focusing on what you want, that skill. We will discuss and see what each of the options are about. Negotiating dealing systems, order matching, government security trading का platform है of the RBI. You have to know the exact fact what this system basically is. There is no scope for any logic or elimination. Central Depository Services Limited jointly promoted by RBI and Bombay Stock Exchange. अब यहाँ पे Bombay Stock Exchange आ रहा है तो primarily the regulating agency should be what? SEBI. So it could either be SEBI or Bombay Stock Exchange or just RBI. Okay, so this is also a very dicey option and factual knowledge is required to correctly solve this question. Now ऐसे questions में if you know the correct answer only and only then solve it. Options भी ऐसे ही हैं, 1, 1 and 2, 3 only and 2 and 3 only. Okay, so इसका वैसे इसका correct answer is 1 and 2 only. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, 1 is correct. ये तो बहुत general था. 2 भी आपको पता होना चाहिए correct, and also you should be knowing that 3 is incorrect to arrive at the correct answer. Now let's it is moderate and you have to be aware of these financial instruments, you have to be aware of these regulatory bodies. Option 1 में T-bills is a government of India debt bond. It is issued by the RBI on the behalf of the government, and anyone among the retail investors like individuals, companies and corporate bodies can invest in them. You do not need any in-depth knowledge to mark this option as correct. General concepts थे. If you have been following current affairs magazines, you have been following your basic sources of newspaper reading, then also these organizations, they keep repeating themselves in news and current affairs. So economy के current affairs से related first वाला तो आप बहुत easily mark कर सकते हो. T-bills, government of India, RBI issue करता है as its role as banker to the government. and anyone among individual companies and corporate bodies can invest in them. Let's have a look at negotiated dealing system. The order matching system है, that is a screen based electronic anonymous order matching system जो secondary market trading को govern करता है इन गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी ट्रेडिंग, स्पेशली मतलब कि ये गिल्ट एज सिक्योरिटी की जो सेकेंडरी मार्केट में ट्रेडिंग होती है, नेगोशिएटेड डीलिंग सिस्टम इसी को गवर्न करता है. एंड since it looks at the government securities, since it is looking at the government securities, it is regulated by it is a platform of the Reserve Bank of India. Why? Because it is a banker to the government. Entities like banks, primary dealers, insurance companies and mutual funds of course are members of this system, because as we read earlier, anyone can invest and trade in government securities or gilt edge bonds. Central Depository Services RBI promote नहीं करता है. 3 is the wrong answer. It is promoted by the Bombay Stock Exchange in collaboration with major banks like SBI, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, HDFC and all these things. RBI is not a promoter. And there was no scope for elimination, any elimination logic or technique in this question, because the question was completely facts based. There was a requirement to have a thorough knowledge in all of these 3 questions. तो ये moderate to difficult ही कहूँगी मैं इस question को. And अगर इसके बारे में awareness नहीं है, so it is best to leave it. और इसमें आप 50-50 भी क्या ही आप इसमें scope लगाओगे. So if you have been thorough with revision of current affairs, then you would have been able to maybe CDSL का आप आंसर कर सकते थे ईजिली. अगर आपने करंट अफेयर्स में द हिंदू का बिजनेस सेक्शन भी अगर आप पढ़ लोगे तो CDSL तो ऑटोमेटिकली एलिमिनेट हो जाएगा. और अगर आप CDSL को एलिमिनेट कर पाओगे तो you would be left with these 2 options, 1 only and 1 and 2 only. And the knowledge for this one was an obvious requirement to eliminate and arrive at the right answer. Okay, वाटर क्रेडिट के ऊपर ये क्वेश्चन आया था. यूजुअली ये एनवायरनमेंट का क्वेश्चन है, बट आई वुड काउंट दिस बोथ एज अ पार्ट ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट का भी ये क्वेश्चन है और इकोनॉमी का भी ये क्वेश्चन है, बिकॉज यहाँ पे माइक्रो फाइनेंस की बात हो रही है. यहाँ कैन यू यूज एनी लॉजिक और एलिमिनेशन? लेट्स हैव अ लुक. वाटर क्रेडिट माइक्रो फाइनेंस टूल है अकॉर्डिंग टू द फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट इन वाटर एंड सैनिटेशन सेक्टर. वेरी वेरी जनरलिस्ट स्टेटमेंट. यहाँ पे क्रेडिट की बात हो रही है और क्रेडिट इज अ ब्रॉड टर्म. क्रेडिट इज अ ब्रॉड टर्म एंड इट विल इंक्लूड ऑल द फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स दैट गिव आउट लोन्स लाइक माइक्रो फाइनेंस, शॉर्ट टर्म लोन्स, soft loans, anything. So this can be a correct answer. Microfinance is a type of a credit. Let's have a look at the second option. Global initiative launched under the aegis of World Health Organization and World Bank. Yes, World Health Organization and World Bank, they both work together for all these important causes. It is a major initiative, and if it was an initiative of WHO and World Bank, आपने already अपने current affairs में sustainable development goals में कहीं ना कहीं तो cover किया ही होगा. अगर नहीं किया है and you don't know which organization has launched this initiative, then answering 2 as the correct option is very very dicey, and it is a regular UPSC trap जिसमें students usually फंस जाते हैं. तो इसमें एक्चुअल नॉलेज होना बहुत ज़रूरी था कि विच ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हैज़ स्टार्टेड विद द सिस्टम ऑफ वाटर क्रेडिट. इट एम्स टू एनेबल द पुअर पीपल टू मीट देयर वाटर नीड्स विदाउट डिपेंडिंग ऑन सब्सिडीज. Aims to enable poor people to meet their water needs without depending. So water credit, usually you will not give water credit to well-off people, to people who already have a decent standard of living, because they will be already be having access to adequate infrastructure and water supply. Okay, तो water credit usually poor people को ही दिया जाएगा, और individuals who cannot afford safe drinking water. Okay, so 3 can also be correct. All of these 3, first is definitely correct. 3 is also definitely correct. Okay, second, you should be knowing. So इसमें भी एलिमिनेशन का स्कोप बहुत बहुत कम है, बिकॉज प्रोबेबिलिटी है कि स्टूडेंट्स 2 को भी करेक्ट मार्क करके आ जाए, एंड इफ़ यू मार्क द आंसर डी तो ये आपका करेक्ट रॉन्ग हो जाएगा, बिकॉज इसका करेक्ट आंसर इज 1 and 3 ओनली. It is a facts based question, fact plus some common sense based question. Why water credit gives out loan? We will not give water credit to a very rich businessman. Why would he need it? It is meant for poor people, and since it is meant for underprivileged people with lack of access, then microfinance is a tool to give out water credit. Why? Because microfinance targets small businessmen and individuals who do not have access to regular banking services. Option 1 is the right answer. Microfinance tool है water credit. ऑप्शन टू इज रॉन्ग, क्योंकि वर्ल्ड बैंक और वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का इनिशिएटिव नहीं है. इट इज़ एन इनिशिएटिव बाय एन इंटरनेशनल NGO नेम्ड water.org. water.org का ये इनिशिएटिव है. एंड थर्ड वन वी ऑलरेडी डिस्कस. सो करेक्ट आंसर इज 1 and 3 ओनली. In India, the central banks function as the lender of the last resort, usually refers to which of the following? Lending to trade and industry bodies when they fail to borrow from other sources, providing liquidity to the banks having temporary crisis, lending to the governments to finance budgetary deficit. So, lending to trade and industry bodies when they fail, lender of the last resort, RBI या फिर किसी भी सेंट्रल बैंक के कुछ फंक्शंस होते हैं. दे आर बैंकर टू द गवर्नमेंट, दे आर बैंकर टू द बैंक्स एज अ लेंडर टू द लास्ट रिजॉर्ट, दे आर इशूअर ऑफ द करेंसी, they manage the clearance and settlement account of the country, and many other functions are also there. Legal tender provide करते हैं कंट्री की करेंसीज को. सो एज अ लेंडर ऑफ द लास्ट रिजॉर्ट द RBI यहाँ पे इसका फंक्शन क्या हो जाएगा? एज अ बैंकर टू द बैंक्स. फोकस है यहाँ पे बैंक्स का. सो वाई ट्रेड एंड इंडस्ट्री बॉडीज विल डेफिनेटली नॉट बी द करेक्ट आंसर. ये बहुत ईजी क्वेश्चन था, बेसिक क्वेश्चन था. फर्स्ट वाला ऑटोमेटिकली एलिमिनेट हो जाएगा बिकॉज RBI lends directly to the scheduled commercial banks and not to trade and industry bodies. And if you know this fact, one is automatically eliminated without much thinking to do in it. Providing liquidity to the banks is having a temporary crisis. Yes. Lending to the government to finance budgetary deficit. Now here the function, option 3 talks about the function of the RBI as a banker to the government. As a banker to the government. यहाँ पे lender of the last resort refers to banker to the banks. Now this is banker to the government. So this is not a part, this is not the function of the RBI being a lender of the last resort. So 3 is also eliminated. The correct answer here is B, that is 2 only. This according to the website of RBI as well. Website banker to the bank. Individual consumers, business organizations, banks also need their own mechanism to transfer funds, settle interbank transactions, and that is why banks के पास जब भी कोई liquidity crunch आता है, they resort to whom? They resort to RBI. Like we as consumers resort to scheduled commercial banks. Basic retail consumers, customers, we go to scheduled commercial bank to rectify or to correct our liquidity crunch. The banks will go to the RBI. Okay, so इसी से रिलेटेड कैपिटल इन्फ्यूजन स्कीम जो था गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का, दैट वाज द गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव एंड नॉट द इनिशिएटिव ऑफ द RBI. Okay, so lender of the last resort means banks will first try all the other options that are currently available. And if all the other options also dry up, then as the last option, the bank prefer to go to the RBI. Okay, so it was an easy question. NCERT के basis पे solve हो सकता था. We've already discussed these points. As a banker to the banks, RBI functions as a lender to the last resort to the banks facing a liquidity crunch. 2 is the correct answer. There was not much thinking to do about it. Third one was a trap. I agree. You should be knowing that as a lender of the last resort, RBI is working as a banker to the banks. Consider the following statement. Governor of RBI is appointed by the central government. Of course, RBI Act 1934 govern करता है इसको, and the Cabinet Committee on Appointments makes a recommendation to the central government on the basis of which central government appoints the governor of the RBI. And ऐसे भी सोचो आप, RBI is a banker to the government also. It is established on the basis of RBI Act 1934. अगर central government appoint नहीं करेगा RBI के governor को, then which authority will do it? Think about it. So one is obviously the correct, naturally the correct answer. Certain provisions in the Constitution of India give the central government the right to issue directions to the RBI in public interest. Certain provisions in the Constitution of India, read again, give the central government the right to issue directions. So अगर आपने पॉलिटी अच्छे से पढ़ी है, कहीं पे भी ऐसा कहीं लिखा हुआ है that according to the Constitution of India the central government can issue directions to the RBI? No. Central government can issue directions to the RBI in public interest from time to time on the basis of Section 7 of RBI Act 1934. It is not on the basis of Constitution of India, and if you are aware of that, 2 गलत हो जाएगा. 2 is not the right answer. The governor of the RBI draws his power from RBI Act, obviously the correct answer. So ये 1 and 3, and RBI or government deputy governor recently warned against over interference by the central government in the independent functioning of the RBI. शायद इसीलिए ये क्वेश्चन भी न्यूज़ में आया था. So डायरेक्टली करंट अफेयर से नहीं आ रहा है, बट उसके बेसिस पे आ रहा है. सो यू हैव टू बी अवेयर ऑफ द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स. ओके, सो ये बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन था. वैसे तो लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी वाज वेरी वेरी इजी. एनसीईआरटी बेस्ड था. येस इट वाज. यू शुड बी एबल टू एलिमिनेट द सेकेंड ऑप्शन. we've already discussed thoroughly each and every point. So यस, सेक्शन 7 है आरबीआई एक्ट का 1934. उसके बेसिस पे सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट आरबीआई को डायरेक्शंस इश्यू करता है, एंड नॉट ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. सो दैट वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो. With reference to casual workers employed in India, consider the following statements. All the casual workers are entitled for employment provident fund coverage. All the casual workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime payment. And the government can by a notification specify that an establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank account. So ये बहुत ही specific question है related to casual workers, and what kind of background knowledge you need to be able to solve this question. Let's have a look at that. जितने भी casual workers होते हैं, they are entitled for employment provident fund. Is this correct or not? Let me tell you first, there is no formal definition of casual workers, and also there is no formal regulation also for casual workers. एक scheme launch करी थी Government of India ने in 1993, and that usually runs all the welfare schemes and governs the employment of casual workers. We will discuss about that, but first let's have a look at this. All casual workers are entitled for employee provident fund coverage. All casual workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime payment. It is a basic right. It is a basic right. This is also a basic right. And the government by notifications can specify that establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank account. This is also a basic right. Why? क्योंकि जितनी भी important schemes हैं that the government is running for the welfare of casual workers, and especially during pandemic जितने भी initiative लिए गए थे, if direct payment is made through the bank account, the government will be able to identify beneficiaries. So the correct answer here is 1, 2 and 3. ये तीनों चीज़ें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, बेसिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल राइट्स हैं. डायरेक्टिव पॉलिसी टू द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट में मेंशन किया गया है. ये सब डायरेक्टली नहीं मेंशन किया गया है, बट द स्टेट इज डायरेक्टेड टुवर्ड्स द वेलफेयर ऑफ द एम्प्लॉयज़. ओके, बट नाउ लेट्स हैव अ लुक एट some important provisions. So Supreme Court की अभी एक recent ruling आई थी that according to the EPF, EPF में जो वर्कर की डेफिनेशन है, इट इज़ वेरी ब्रॉड एंड इंक्लूसिव, वाइडली इंक्लूसिव, एंड एनी पर्सन एंगेज्ड ईदर डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली इन कनेक्शन विद वर्क of an establishment under section 2F is a worker, and that will also include casual workers as per the Employee Provident Fund Act. And why you should be knowing this? Why? Because Supreme Court का recent ruling आया था इसी से related, and if you have been following current affairs, then answering this question would be very very easy. All workers are entitled for regular working hours and overtime payment. Now see it from this angle, that the Constitution of India, it prohibits exploitative practices on workers. It tries to ensure equal rights, fair and living and decent wage rate. Fair living and decent wage rate is also a directive principle of the state policy. Let's discuss. So उसके basis पे भी अगर आप इसको correct choose कर लेते हो तो that is also right. And the government by notification can specify an establishment or industry to pay it only through bank account. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the exact answer now कि minimum wage rule है 1950 का. All workers are entitled to regular working hours and overtime payment. Of course, directive principle of state policy के अंडर ही इसको enact किया गया था to provide living wages and decent living conditions to all the employees. Decent working conditions, sorry. And the government can by specific notification specify that an establishment or industry shall pay wages only through its bank account. Okay, so only through its bank account. Yes, option 3 is also correct. Casual worker grant temporary status and regularization scheme के अंडर ही ये provision भी govern होता है. Because it has a lot of rules and regulations as per the payment of wages to the workers, inflation indexing of wages. We will discuss at depth about it, according to which temporary status will be shared. I will share you a PIB link related to this scheme in this PDF itself, so you will get much more clarity about what am I talking about. Regularization of casual workers से related भी इसमें provisions हैं, so you should give it a read. Regulates most of the employment conditions related to casual workers, और इसी के अंडर government regulation issue कर सकता है to pay all the wages only through the bank accounts. Again, इसमें trick क्या use होनी थी, concept या basic knowledge, basic logic क्या इसमें लग रहा था. If the government wants to identify beneficiaries for all the important schemes that the government is running for workers in the unorganized sector and the casual workers employed on daily wage basis, so us basis pe 3 would be the correct answer. The statement given in the question is very basic provision, and other than EPF Act it may be little specific. All the statements would hold true in the light of basic worker rights. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Very 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 easy question related to the law of demand. अगेन अगर आपने माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स की एनसीईआरटी पढ़ी होगी, यूजुअली मैक्सिमम स्टूडेंट्स रीड मैक्रो बट स्किप माइक्रो. दैट इज़ रॉन्ग. यू शुड ऑल्सो गिव अ माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स अ थरो रीड. बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्निकल डिटेल्स तो उसमें नहीं आएंगे, बट आई विल लेट यू नो द इम्पॉर्टेंट चैप्टर्स फ्रॉम 11th माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स दैट आर इम्पॉर्टेंट, कैन बी आस्क्ड, एंड येस questions have been asked in UPSC past years. In 2017 a question on opportunity cost that was asked in the UPSC examination, that was also somewhat related to 11th NCERT microeconomics only. So ये law of demand का question है. law of demand क्या कहता है? Everything remaining constant, if the price of a commodity increases, the demand will fall down. Quite obvious. सो अदर थिंग्स क्या है? अदर थिंग्स अगर वेरी करती हैं, अगर चेंज होती हैं, तो भी डिमांड में क्या असर आता है? सब्सटीट्यूट, प्राइस ऑफ द सब्सटीट्यूट इंक्रीजेस, द डिमांड ऑफ द गुड माइट इंक्रीज. यस. प्राइस ऑफ द कॉम्प्लीमेंट इंक्रीजेस, देन द डिमांड ऑफ द गुड माइट इंक्रीज. नो. यू शुड बी नोइंग कि सब्सटीट्यूट गुड और कॉम्प्लीमेंट गुड क्या होता है. गुड ऑफ एन प्राइस, द price of an inferior good increases and income of the consumer increases. बोथ अगर प्राइस ऑफ इंफीरियर गुड और इनकम ऑफ द कंज्यूमर दोनों इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं तो द डिमांड विल इंक्रीज और नॉट? डेफिनेटली नो. अगर प्राइस ऑफ द गुड फॉल्स देन द डिमांड विल डेफिनेटली इंक्रीज. सो 2 and 3 are wrong. We will discuss why. Correct answer here is A. Now, what are the other things? Let's have a look. Price of related good. Complements. Complementary goods कैसे होते हैं? अगर पेन है उसका complementary good क्या हो जाएगा? Ink. If the price of ink increases, then the price of pen will also be increase. If the price of sugar increases, then the price of tea in the market will also increase. Price of petrol increases, then price of all the other commodities that you are buying from the market will increase. So ये complementary goods होते हैं. Complementary goods वो होते हैं जिसमें अगर एक complementary good का price increase हो गया तो उससे related जो गुड को कॉम्प्लीमेंट करता है उसका प्राइस भी इंक्रीज हो जाएगा. बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल इसका है पेन एंड इंक. अगर इंक का प्राइस बढ़ के 5 रुपये से 10 रुपये हो गया तो पेन का प्राइस भी 20 रुपीज़ हो जाएगा. दैट इज़ हाउ इट वर्क्स. सो इफ द प्राइस ऑफ द कॉम्प्लीमेंट इंक्रीजेस देन द प्राइस ऑफ द पेन विल ऑल्सो इंक्रीज एंड द डिमांड ऑफ दैट कमोडिटी विल गो डाउन. दैट इज द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट. सब्स्टिट्यूट, टेक फॉर एग्जाम्पल टी एंड कॉफ़ी. If price of coffee increases, then the price of tea will fall down. When the price of tea will fall down, the demand for tea will increase. That is the key difference here. Okay, अगर टी का प्राइस बढ़ जाता है और कॉफ़ी का प्राइस कम हो जाता है तो डिमांड फॉर कॉफ़ी विल इंक्रीज, डिमांड फॉर टी विल फॉल डाउन. ये बेसिक सा एग्जाम्पल है, इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा ओवर थिंक करने की ज़रूरत नहीं, सिर्फ आपको एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए बताया सब्स्टिट्यूट गुड्स कैसे काम करता है. Right, so if price of a substitute goods fall down, the demand of that other good will increase. So that is why 1 is the correct answer. Tea and coffee का example से आप समझ लो. Income of the consumer. If my income increases, my demand for other goods will increase, right? My demand for inferior goods, however, will go down. It will go down. For example, there is a person who is below poverty line and he or she is getting access to basic ration from public distribution system, right? So suppose the income of that person increases, then he would want to shift to better brands. पहले वो PDS से अपना व्हीट फ्लोर खरीदता था. नाउ दैट पर्सन वुड वांट दैट ओके नाउ आई एम बेटर ऑफ, आई विल बाय आटा, आशीर्वाद फ्लोर मिल्स आटा. Okay, so the demand for inferior goods, it will fall down, and the demand for better goods, better quality goods that are there in the actual market will go up if the income of the consumer will increase. And that is why this was a very tricky question. People from economics background will find this question very, very easy, but 3 is a dangerous trap, and 1, 3 and 4 could have been marked as wrong by many students. Okay, so inferior goods का price हमेशा decrease करता है अगर consumer का income बढ़ता है. Okay, suppose you are getting a bonus and you are using a regular phone, you don't have a smartphone, you are using a regular phone, right? If your income increases, you will ditch that phone and you will go and buy an iPhone. Simple सा बात है, simple सा logic है. Okay, so अगर किसी एक commodity की price कम होता है, अगर iPhone का price कम हो गया, like 50,000 से कम होके becomes 20,000 for example, then the demand for iPhone will boost up like anything. So 4 is an obvious answer. ये सारे important factors हैं that affect the demand, the taste and preference, the number of buyers, future expectations. So for example, future में अगर ऐसा scope आ रहा है that the price of vehicles will increase like anything, and if I have been wanting to buy or invest in a car or a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, then instead of waiting for the future, I will buy it right now. तो अगर future में inflation का expectation होता है तो शॉर्ट रन या प्रेजेंट मोमेंट में उस कमोडिटी का डिमांड बढ़ जाता है. सो दैट इज अनदर फैक्टर दैट अफेक्ट्स डिमांड. आई गेस वी हैव covered all the important points. The question was easy given you know about inferior goods, these basic concepts जो आपको माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स 11th की NCERT से ही मिल जाएगा. अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स से रिलेटेड ये क्वेश्चन है, करंट अफेयर्स बेस्ड क्वेश्चन है, ये इकोनॉमी के करंट अफेयर्स बेस्ड क्वेश्चन है, बिकॉज आरबीआई ने अभी एक स्टेटमेंट सुपरवाइजरी एक्शन फ्रेमवर्क रिवाइज किया था, वे कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स आर ब्रॉट अंडर द सुपरविजन ऑफ रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया कंप्लीटली. इससे पहले जितने भी कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स थे, दे वर पार्टली मैनेज्ड बाय द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया. जितने भी बैंकिंग रिलेटेड ऑपरेशंस थे, दे वर मैनेज्ड बाय द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया. एंड जितने भी से फॉर एग्जांपल other related management related issues थे, they were managed by the state government's cooperative bodies. Okay, so first is the correct answer, they are supervised, the first is the wrong answer, they are not supervised by the local boards, by the state government anymore. They can issue equity and preference shares, yes, this is correct, but only to its members. They were bought under the purview of Banking Regulation Act through an amendment. This is also the correct answer. You only needed to have a background knowledge of urban cooperative banks. So yes, 2 is correct, 3 is correct, but 1 is wrong. Large cooperative banks जिनके paid up capital and reserve were more than 1 lakh, they were bought under the purview of Banking Regulation Act 1949 through an amendment in 1966. So उसके बाद से dual control आ गया urban cooperative bank में, जिसमें banking related functions were managed by RBI, but management related functions were managed by the state government. Now this has been corrected and RBI fully controls urban cooperative banks. Okay, so these are all some facts. Consider the following: foreign currency convertible bonds, foreign institutional investment, global depository receipt, and resident external deposits. Foreign currency, ये इन चारों में से कौन सा part which comprises the FDI? You have to know the exact correct answer. इसमें there is no elimination, there is no logic, nothing, no basic conceptual clarity. You should be knowing each of these terms, right? And you should be knowing which accounts for FDI and which does not. So the correct answer here is 1, 2 and 3 only. Non-residential external deposits, they are not a part of FDI. They are not a part of FDI. All these 3 are. Okay, so this basic definition and concept here is mentioned in the PPT. You can read it from here. Because we are running short on time, I will not be able to take a in-depth explanation of these, but let's see foreign currency convertible bond क्या होता है. तो it is a convertible bond जो foreign currency में issue होता है. So for example, there is an Indian enterprise wants to invest abroad, Indian rupees में ही वो invest करेगा, and it can be a mixed between debt and equity investment. Likewise, same can happen in India also. A foreign MNC can invest in US dollars in the Indian company. So foreign currency convertible bond, they form a part of FDI. Foreign portfolio investment जिनकी value, usual value 10% से कम होती है, they form a part of FDI. If they are more than 10%, they form a part of foreign institutional investment, right? And same thing applies for global depository receipts. Okay, they are listed, traded and overseas settlement होता है. Non-resident external account is a rupee dominated account. They facilitate deposits in foreign currency and it is not a part of FDI. Non-resident external accounts is not a part of foreign direct investment. Okay, so the last question, very interesting. The effect of devaluation of a currency, that it necessarily improves the competitiveness of export in the foreign market, increases the foreign value of domestic currency, improves trade balance. So obviously basic plus easy, basic plus easy given the fact कि आपको devaluation के concept के बारे में अच्छे से पता हो. It increases the competitiveness of domestic exports in the foreign market. It improves the trade. So 1 is actually the only correct answer, क्योंकि यहाँ पे necessarily पूछा है, क्योंकि many students can feel कि डोमेस्टिक एक्सपोर्ट्स कॉम्पिटिटिव हो जाते हैं इंटरनेशनल मार्केट्स में, तो डेफिनेटली ट्रेड बैलेंस बढ़ेगा. यस, ट्रेड बैलेंस बढ़ता है. अगर डिवैल्यू होती है करेंसी, देन ट्रेड बैलेंस इंप्रूव्स इन द शॉर्ट रन. बट इफ द कंट्री इज ऑलरेडी रिडन विद फॉरेन डेप्ट अगर होता है, तो डिवैल्यूएशन ऑफ करेंसी कैन हैव अ रिवर्स इफेक्ट ऑन ट्रेड बैलेंस. इट कैन affect or hamper our trade balance adversely. So 3 is not the correct answer, and 1 and 3 वैसे भी options में नहीं दिया हुआ है. You have to choose. अगर 1 and 3 option में दिया होता तो भी 3 correct answer नहीं होता. It would have been the wrong answer. So correct answer here is 1 only. Let's have a look. Fall in rupee क्या होता है? So for example, अभी Indian rupee की value against $1 is ₹70. If it becomes ₹75 per US dollar, then Indians will have to pay more to buy $1. But the American citizens will be able to buy more goods from India. They will buy more of Indian rupee from that same amount. So obviously exports will increase, but imports will decrease, because the goods that are available in the international market, we will have to pay more. So that is how it works. Moving on to the next option, increase in foreign value of domestic currency. No, devaluation is a decrease in foreign value of domestic currency. Decrease कैसे हो रहा है? Because 75 से ₹75, you are saying only the monetary value is increasing. So basically the Indian rupee has become more inexpensive in the foreign market. It is now more easy to buy more units of Indian rupee. It is more easy to buy more Indian rupee from the foreign market at $1. So that is how it works. Value actually decrease होती है instead of increasing. So you can go through all of these explanations. ये हम लोग ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. दे मे इंक्रीज द डेब्ट बर्डन इन फॉरेन डिनोमिनेटेड लोन्स एंड ट्रेड बैलेंस मे नॉट नेसेसरीली इम्प्रूव इन द लॉन्ग रन, एंड दैट इज वाई ऑप्शन 3 इज करेक्ट. ऑप्शन 2 बेसिक डेफिनेशन एंड कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी से आप एलिमिनेट करके रॉन्ग मार्क कर सकते थे. So this was it for the previous year explanation of economy question. That is 2021 का जो explanation है for all the economy questions. I hope the concept was very clear. The approach most importantly was clear to all of you. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. We will come up with more such explanations with more such conceptual clarity. The PDF will be made available to all of you in our Telegram channel. Okay, so see you in the next session. I hope this session was fruitful. Thank you so much for watching, and in case you have any doubt, do post it down in the comments below. Ask more questions. I encourage you to ask more questions and resolve your doubts. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.